Welcome back to Creating a Universe, where we're discussing the various elements that go into creating a believable and immersive world for your story. Today, we're going to be talking about creating governments and how previous topics like religion and culture can influence them. For some, this is where the process becomes tedious, maybe even boring, while for others, this is what you've been waiting for in your entire journey of world building. When it comes to large-scale worlds with fleshed-out nations, some form of government is essential. Government is a massive part of any civilization, maybe even the biggest part. Societies generally don't function without one. Even nomadic tribes have hierarchies and systems of power. These governments should have their own unique systems, laws, and practices. As with all things, it's important to do your research. Make yourself more familiar with well-known forms of government and discover other forms that may be new to you. Choose the aspects of the ones that best fit the cultures that you're assigning them to and flesh them out even further. Give them different positions of power, different types of currency, and define whether or not they're benevolent government or otherwise. Once you have a good understanding of what types of governments you'd like to fill your world, then, depending on how prevalent that area is in your story, it's important to choose what types of members of society will fill those roles. Are they good people or are they corrupt? Is the political climate a tense one, with assassinations and backstabbings, or is it generally peaceful? Another key aspect of creating a believable form of government is to consider how religion, culture, and society will influence it. Think about how different religious beliefs, cultural practices, and societal structures would shape the way the government operates and interacts with its citizens. Most forms of government are created for one or two reasons. Reason one is based off of a religious or moral standard that would require laws to keep people of low integrity in check. Reason two is simply to bring order to a growing population. With more people comes disarray, and people cannot unify without some form of hierarchy. It's also important to consider how different governments might be treated by society. Are they stable? Are they in crisis? How does this affect the story and the characters as they navigate the different parts of the world that they journey to? Now, I am by no means an expert on the topic of government, and admittedly, I am one of the people that doesn't really enjoy that aspect of stories. You know, for me, I don't need to know Aragorn's tax plan. I don't want to know Aragorn's tax plan. I just really want to know whether he was a good king or not. Now, if you are the kind of person that does need to know that information, I hate you. I'm kidding. But if you are that kind of person, it'll be much easier for you to come up with that kind of information to portray that properly. Whereas for someone like me, if it was never mentioned, I really wouldn't think about it twice. Yet even still, as I said, there should be at least some kind of foundations of a government, even if they're kind of not mentioned very often. You don't need to know the nitty-gritty of politics to make a believable world. Merely mentioning a few laws here and there or a governmental structure or two will give the illusion that you know what you're talking about. For me personally, I don't really lose the motivation to tell my story when I get to these parts, because even though I don't know a lot about governmental systems, my writing style is very free flow and natural, I guess you could say. So I talk about things when they come up, and it's not like if I get to a scene with a court hearing, for example, I have to go take a month or two away from writing to go become a lawyer so I can make the scene feel realistic. It's more just use the information you need to tell the scene in a compelling way, and that's pretty much all you need to do. If you're the kind of person that's really into this, then that will show in your scenes where they're very detailed and very specific. Versus if you're someone like me, you just get the information you need to make the scene feel real and believable, and try not to do less than that, because then your scene will feel hollow and like you have no idea what you're talking about and you just threw it in because you needed to. Just be very conscious when you're writing your scenes. For me, it's more of getting to scenes where something might be mentioned as being illegal, for example, and then I kind of just take that and implement it one or two more times throughout the story so it's a bit more consistent. Then all of a sudden, by the end of the story, you've done that with a couple things 4 or 5 times, and now, all of a sudden, there's the illusion of law and order in your world. And that's going to be it for this episode of Creating a Universe. Remember, governments are not just some distant concept that you can simply overlook. Each nation is not set to just one form of government, but rather every city, small town, and tribe has their own governing class, and it's up to you to decide what form that takes. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below, and I'm going to be collecting questions throughout this series and answering as many as I can at the end. Remember, there are such things as stupid questions, but that does not mean that they should not be answered. If you found this helpful, give the video a like and consider subscribing. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.